uncomfortable. It distracted me from what I was doing. And yeah, I can't say I took too many nut shots that was just like, unbearable. I caught a little bit, but it would be like a deflected, shin or something that, may get a little tappy. But yeah, I fucking hated it, man. And so I wouldn't do it. And that, of course, when you play basketball, you don't wear a fucking cup when you play basketball anyway. In golf, I was a big golfer. I didn't wear one when I played golf. When I played football, I did when I was younger, and then I stopped as I got older. I don't know. But also when I played football, I was a linebacker too. So I wasn't really in a position to be kicked in my dick a whole lot, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. This conversation was too good, Matt. I'm sorry. I went live on YouTube and didn't want it. It was too
perfectly
good.
fine.
So.
But I can't stand them. I cannot stand them. I don't like it. Y'all have waltzed into the J Pink has lifted the veil on our topic of conversation here in the pre-show. I never was. I was never a big fan of wearing a cup in athletics, and I mean I played sports my entire life. I just couldn't do it. Could not do it. Anyway, that's me. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to Wet and Wild Wednesday. It is hot as shit outside. It's so hot outside. It's hot in my house. And I just got out of the shower, and I'm still sweating. I hope everyone's doing well. I played mechanic today, so I'm in a great mood. Do what?
I was going to ask, now that life is returning a little bit, to whatever normal is in the Matt Martin household, how's the thermostat feeling?
So you'll never believe this. I was so not home while they were gone. I had the fucker set to 80 degrees the entire time. I shit you not. And that was just how it was. But I mean, again, I took off 4 days of work in 2 months. A questionable 4 days of work.
So busy.
Yeah, and I just was not home. In the first half of it, I was working almost opposite hours. I mean, we were doing like 18, 20-hour days there for a little while. So I was never home. So I was like, man, I'm not even going to try and keep it cool. I'm just, make sure the cat's okay. The cat doesn't die. But we'll leave it at 80 and see what the fuck happens. I'll say this: the cat was shedding like an unreal amount. It was almost disgusting.
Oh no! Don't cook the cat, Matt.
Yeah, I had to vacuum every day.
Oh my god!
I'm like, Lord have mercy, what is going on here?
No.
Anyway, it was not getting that warm in the house during the day. Like it rarely really was it. Occasionally you'd see it at like 81 or something. I'd get the notification on my app, but for the most part, I had it no problem, chilling at 80. And I'll say this is that depending on the room you're in my house, right? So at the thermostat, it may be 80 degrees, but if you're like in the bathroom, it's going to be like 76. So the cat oftentimes will sit in the window in the bathroom and just stare outside at the birds, right? Because there's a tree right outside the window. And the cat loves to sit there and just stare at the birds.
Man, I was just going to say,
it's not bad.
What I'd give for an 80-degree house. Really, what I'd give for an 80-degree house, Matt. Seriously. Fuck
yeah, trust me. I get it. Like right now, it's probably 82 in here. And I don't know what the temperature is outside, but I know it was like 97 a little while ago, and the heat index was still like 104. And that was when the sun was still going down. It was hot as absolute bejesus. So, and we have just gotten absolutely pile drive with rain over the last couple weeks. I mean, it was
lovely. So the humidity goes up.
Humidity is just off the charts right now. Dude, fescue is as cooked as it can be, and it's not for a lack of water. That's for sure. It is so smoked with disease and everything else. It's like you look out across lawns right now, and all you see is like Dallas grass. That's it. That time of year. Anyway, it's Wet and Wild Wednesday.
Anyway.
DeMay is TCBing right now. If you don't know what TCBing, that's taking care of business. He had a business phone call. He's got to take it. So anyway, we're going to kick this off. We've got a lot of mailbag stuff, and so we're going to go through this. I realize now, J Pink, I asked one guy to send me the information he wanted us to review, and he has not replied back. And then the other one, it says he has questions, but he did not write in. And then he said he joined the Patreon, and then I was looking at the names, and I didn't see it on the list. Wait, here it is. Here it is. Is this it?
Mhm.
Yes, it is. Okay, there we go. So anyway, yeah, we'll kick this off. So we'll start here. We'll start here with Paul S. He says, hello and good morning. My name is Paul and I live in Southeast Wisconsin. I'm planning on renovating a 4,700 square foot yard. I have some questions on soil amendments, fertilizer leveling, nozzle tip selection, and preparation for this. I will provide all the details if I get a response. Damn it. Including, this is your response, Paul. If you're watching right now, email it in and we will cover it tonight. That is my promise to you. We'll get this covered
please
tonight. Email it in.
Yeah, please email in because
I, for the life of you, cannot
like
figure out how to get a hold of you guys. I'm not typing live story at this moment. I'm making my first glyphosate application this weekend, either tonight or tomorrow, depending on the weather. Probably good timing, especially where you are in Southeast Wisconsin. But yeah, send all of it in. Like that email address, mail@thegrassfactor.tv. Just send it all there. We'll cover it right here on the show. It's no big deal.
This is my favorite website that I like sending people when they send me like a Slack message or something that just says hello, and that's it. I hate it. This is called nohello.net. just
nohello.
Because by the time I get to it, it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, in the future, just send it to that email address, and we'll cover it live.
I emailed them at 8:30 tonight, and I was like, "Hey, we're hitting this on the stream tonight."
Yeah. It's about the level of preparation that we can put into it. Is like maybe a 30 minutes heads up.
You know what?
Sometimes we'll be like 10 minutes late. How about that?
Mm-hmm. So, Paul, let's kindly just state your business. We're not that formal, and we'll do our best to take care of you. Okay? We're not that formal.
Feel free to send it in. I'd like to learn about what you do for a living. I'm just saying. I'm into it all. Paul A said, we'll come back to you, Paul S. Get it sent into us. Paul A said, just sign up, new member today. Welcome aboard the Soul Train, Paul. Welcome to the armpit of internet lawn care. Keep my perennial rye or smoke it off. 3 years ago, I renovated my 2,500 square foot in Connecticut with PRG, Grand Slam, Stellar, and Slugger. It is fertilized, urea, roughly 3 pounds per thousand, mostly in the fall, and irrigated with ground lawn sprinklers. pH was initially low at 4.5 to 5 from soil test, but Lime corrected the issue in about 1 year. Not bad. You probably had a pretty decent buffer pH then to be able to change it in a year. The perennial rye struggled for a few seasons. Now the lawn is 20 to 30% thinner, bare spots throughout. This fall, in a few weeks, I plan to oversee with perennial rye with turf type tall fescue blend. The pic of the label is attached. Turf Pro Black Beauty Sod Maker. Question is, can I slice seed turf type tall fescue into existing perennial rye lawn? Will allelopathy affect the turf type tall fescue germination? I'm having a super difficult time finding research articles addressing this question. If you have a link or some article to reference, please forward. Should I kill a perennial rye with glyphosate and then renovate with tall fescue? Please let me know ASAP because I'm planning the turf type tall fescue in a few weeks. Thank you very much for the insight and expertise. So I'll say this is that seeding this into you do have a little bit of other crop seed in there. I want to warn you of that. You will likely have the potential for some extraneous weeds to show up. Don't freak out if you do. You're going to be okay. Can you see this in a perennial ryegrass? I'll say this. I personally have never had a lot of issues with seeding tall fescue into perennial ryegrass or perennial ryegrass into tall fescue. The only time I have an issue with it is if the perennial ryegrass is under so much pressure that it's actually dying, right? So if you seed into it and the perennial ryegrass is so drought stressed that it's on the absolute verge of dying, where it's crispy as hell, you walk across it, your footprints are there, and it's been that way for 3 weeks, yeah, you're going to have trouble seeding into it. But if it's green, it's well watered, you have a good seed bed, is it going to create an issue? No. Majority of the time, allolepathy is going to be an issue. It's a stress response, right? So, um, that's why, like, for example, if you're letting heat transition ryegrass out of Bermuda, you will notice Bermuda grass greening up so much more aggressively in areas with either thinner amounts of ryegrass. Even if you spray it out, right? Like there's that transition period. I allolepathy is the only thing I can deduce, because my God, I mean, it's always a visual difference, and it's not just a little bit; it's a lot. And the only thing that makes it discernible between the two is either the rate of ryegrass, or getting rid of the ryegrass earlier in the season. But like, for example, even when we talked to golly, ah, he's Levi in the Discord. I'm drawing a blank on his real name.
Oh, Derek Lay.
Derek. Yes.
Yeah, Derek Lay. Yes.
Derek was talking about still having issues, even though they did, spray out ryegrass early and stuff. So it's one of those things. Tall fescue and ryegrass, I've never had a problem with. I think you're going to be fine. Again, just make sure it's well watered, it's growing. If it's thinned out some just through the course of the year, that's fine. But go ahead and start watering, get it back going, and then you can let it dry down a little bit so you can get your slit seeder through it. Don't try and get your slit seeder through wet muck. But make sure your grass is green and actively growing before attempting to do that.
Yeah. Good advice, because I've known something about plants. And how's this one for weird, Matt? Did you know that allolepathy, toxin production, etc. in plants is triggered anytime the plant is in danger of dying? Like, for example, Matt, here's a weird one for you. You know when I spray grazed areas? If I see any kind of poisonous weed, I warn the landowner to pull his livestock off of that area, and the livestock has to stay away until the weeds are dead, crispy, and no longer attractive to be eaten, because while the weeds are dying, they do two things that are weird. They accumulate more sugars, and whatever toxins there are in the weeds, the concentration goes way up. So, yeah, that whole allolepathy, toxin production, whatever, that is a thing for sure.
There it is, Paul. Just be careful. Southeast Minnesota. Dan, I thought the best way to ask my question was to show you a video. I've included some pictures in case my video makes it hard to see the grass well. It has been dry, temps in the upper 80s for a while. My plan is mentioned in the video, and would I use a 111 for a starter fertilizer? And if kill-off is recommended in the field grass area, I would glyphosate that ASAP as always, and these suggestions are appreciated. Let's see what Minnesota Slam has for us here.
This is Southeast Minnesota Dan. Question for you. I thought that maybe the best way to do this is to give you a video so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. A while back, you read a soil test of mine, helped me out tremendously. It's mainly about this bad soil area, I called it. You can kind of see it's not as good as the rest of the yard. It's been dry here for the last 3 weeks. But hey, while we're here, I guess this is my terrace area. This is the only place I real mow. And if you can see, I capped this after I put in the grass. And if you have any suggestions on how I should raise that up, feel free. Let's take a walk down to the area of concern. The first area I call the bad soil area. That was in the soil test you guys reviewed for me. recommended ammonium sulfate.
Yeah, sulfur
and,
issue.
I will be picking up 1,500 pounds of that next week.
Atta
So I can't
boy!
wait to get that program started.
Yes, man.
Atta fucking boy!
It was planted with a blend of Kentucky bluegrass, chewing red fescue, and ryegrass probably 3 years ago now. It's just, I don't think the Kentucky ever made it. So the whole yard.
And I don't think it will, Matt. You know why?
3 weeks. So none of
Fescue.
Low area?
You know that creeping fescue? That creeping red fescue is no good because does everybody understand what creeping fescue does to other grasses?
It's gonna engulf it, smother it. I don't know.
Worse. Okay. Red fescue is allelopathic as well. And that the whole
Gotcha.
point of red fescue is that say you throw red fescue into this semi-shady, tree-covered lawn that has all kinds of garbage and crap in it. What eventually happens, if you take care of the fescue right, is that fescue is probably going to dominate and basically take care of its own business over time. And by taking care of its own business, it will chemically suppress all other grasses in that area. So, you know what I think happened? I think he got a seed blend that I guess is popular for using on both shady and sunny lawns because of the fescue. But the problem is that if that fescue survives, it'll basically make the Kentucky bluegrass and other grasses look sick because it's like slowly poisoning those other grasses. It's not a good mix.
Yeah. Gauged by the color here, I mean, it's obvious that there's just not a lot of Kentucky bluegrass in there, or if there is, it's not very happy. Now, I'll say this, is that if this is your low sulfur area and there has been no ammonium sulfate applied yet, are we getting the best visual representation? Probably not, just because you are at literally the threshold of creating sulfur deficiencies or just below it. So you have a greater than 50% probability of expressing a deficiency symptom, according to MLSN. So the in this particular scenario right here, it's going to be. Let me say this, Dan. Are we getting an accurate representation right now? The answer is no. There is going to be a benefit analysis that you have to plug into your psychological equation about what you expect out of your turf grass. For example, is if you can't get water to that area and you want something that can be extremely, just survive long periods of dormancy, chewing fescue is probably not a bad deal. If you don't want to mow it, chewing fescue is probably not a bad deal. Like it looks like big acreage you got there. And, if you want to focus on real mow in your upper area, every other day, something like that, and you want to mow that backfield once a month, something like that, maybe you don't want to get rid of it. That's part of your cost analysis and your time analysis that you have to undergo there. But if you want it to look like your upper deck, in all the areas you maintain, eventually bring this under a real mow, then it makes perfect sense to go ahead and start the transition over to Kentucky bluegrass. I would still fertilize it first, because you fertilize it and then spray it with glyphosate, you're going to get a much more effective kill out of it. In fact, sprinkle a little bit of that ammonium sulfate into your tank as you make your glyphosate application, in addition to fertilizing first, just to make sure. But the again, I'll be honest with you, Southeast Minnesota, this doesn't look bad in my opinion. Could it be better? Yeah, you've got a lot of upside for improvement, but as it sits right now, it isn't bad, especially knowing what we know about it, right? I mean, I think this area was like what, 8 on 8 parts per million of sulfur. I mean,
yeah, that was under 10, Matt, and this is where.
Look at the color response.
I would,
I mean, of course, it's going to be a little bit yellow.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to look kind of bad, and this is where I wouldn't automatically just change my grass without seeing if I can get as much as I can out of the existing grass by correcting the lack of sulfur. I mean, that would be how I would approach it. I wouldn't be itching to just replace the grass if the only fault against it is it's pale sickly yellow due to a sulfur deficiency. I'd see how much I can get out of a season of ammonium sulfate fertilization, Matt. What do you think of that?
Yeah. I think that's a fair approach, and then
Yeah.
after that, now you've got a real data set to compare against,
Baseline.
right?
Yeah, you've got a baseline. You got a baseline to compare to, because the only time I'm after like ripping out a lawn is if somebody tells me, okay, this lawn has been optimally fertilized and I still don't like the color of it. Then I have to say, okay, we're at the genetic limit of what proper fertilization can do. And if somebody wants it greener, then we need to change up to an improved mix or variety of grass that will be greener under existing conditions. And I don't think we're there yet. I mean, this is not a fair judge, knowing that, you and I looked at a soil test and said, oh my God.
Yeah.
Right, Matt? We said, oh my God. Really?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be itching to just switch grasses, because, by the way, if you switch grasses and you haven't corrected your deficiency, chances are that new grass is probably not going to make you very happy either, because it's not going to be nice and green and vibrant and beautiful. It's not going to be nice. So I'd probably say fix your fertilizer first.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I'm not gonna absolutely, go nuts over, picking your starter fertilizer here. Can you apply a 111 as a starter fertilizer? Absolutely. Absolutely. No big deal at all. I know you're in the 20s in your P level. By all means, yeah, you certainly can. Is it going to be the game changer between you having a successful seed job and not? Probably not. But if that's gonna make you sleep better at night, by all means, you ain't gonna hurt nothing doing that. Yeah. So yeah, keep us. I'm curious, Dan. I'm curious. Like, what is your overall goal with it? Okay. Now on the upper deck, if you want to raise that to cap height, what is the best way to do that?
Ooh.
Sand. Just
Sand
Just
and
bury it in sand.
okay, sand it, and I'm going to be a little more conservative than just bury it, knowing that he doesn't have Zoysia or Bermuda, and say, this is the use case for half-inch sand top dressings over the course of the growing season, to just keep on raising up, let the grass grow through, raise up, and just keep on going until you are at that height. Because I've also dealt with some deeply divoted lawns, and I've told people, you've just won 3 or 4 sandings over the next year, because your lawn is so surface of the moon that is the only feasible way to correct it, aside from bulldozing it and doing it right.
Yeah, looking at that cap block, that does not look like a 4-inch tall cap block. That looks like 1 5/8 or 2-inch cap block. So, you're talking about 4 sandings over the period of a year. Nothing crazy. I think that's definitely doable, even in Southeast Minnesota. You got enough growing season there to get that done, especially since it's real
Okay.
mode and you probably keep it juiced a little bit. And that's one of the times too where you can really up your nitrogen rates and push it through. You'll be golden.
Grow through it.
Just
Grow through
don't.
it. Yeah.
I would not keep it regulated and then try and push a bunch of grass through a half-inch of sand. But don't keep it regulated, man. You're gonna be just fine, Dan. Just fine. Jago said, I love it when Jago mentions, hey, I don't mean to bother you. Jago, you're not bothering us. I love the shit out of you. Verticutting is to thin out turf, or is it done to create more runners to thicken the lawn? I always assumed verticutting was to promote density, as in the case of Bermuda. I can see I see how it can initially thin out turf, but doesn't that lead to more growth points?
Correct.
The
Matt.
theoretical usage of
Correct.
verticutting.
Okay,
Injury
verticutting.
points.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the thing: is that temporarily and initially, it will thin out. Then the response to that cutting of the growing points and creation of new growing points is that it'll actually increase density. And so, Matt, do you know what the worst case scenario I can think of for density and grain in turf is? Number one, somebody's overdoing the N and the water. Number two, they're mowing often. And number three, in addition to that frequent mowing, they're also verticutting or grooming quite a bit. You know, Matt, that creates the perfect storm as far as turf that will get away from you in terms of density. Okay? That's how you screw yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, be extremely cautious about verticutting, because I've had people tell me, oh, I'm going to juice the heck out of my grass and I'm just going to verticut it all the time too. And I said, hey, time out, stop. Because you're going to create yourself a situation where you can do these little things to it every week to your heart's content, but then at some point in time, you're going to have to pay the tax man in the form of having to dirt that thing to get that back under control. So there, that's my answer.
Sorry, I was messaging someone there. There you go, Jago. There you go. Let me get back over to here. All right, here we go. Hometown said, Hometown Lawn and Turf. What's going on, buddy? Have some overseas quotes to work on. Have a couple lawns they want all bluegrass seeded in. Was wondering if you'd recommend SS365 for homeowners. We'll see if DeMay comes back and let him answer this. Personally, I from the experience that I hear everyone else have, I have none with it. Everyone loves it. So I would think for a homeowner product, I think it's fine. But I'm not qualified to answer that question with confidence. So we'll see if DeMay makes it back. But again, there are enough people in this Discord alone, Hometown Lawn and Turf, that do use it that I would totally feel confident giving it my seal of approval. Lucas Longfellow says, do I really water in mefenoxam? The label says to, but now Pythium is so pissed. I could just glyphosate it, I guess. Watering in mefenoxam, Ray, what is your time after application interval for watering it in?
No, you don't water in mefenoxam. What you do to mefenoxam is spray down at 2 to 5 gallon per 1,000 square foot and leave it, because then it'll go through systemically, and at that higher water volume, that is also enough water volume to get that mefenoxam where it has to be. Because the watering in thing becomes important, like if you try to spray at say a third or a half a gallon per 1,000, and then when you water in a fungicide like that, you normally need or want only up to a 1/4 inch of water irrigation total, and then you stop. The amount of water you apply is very little. It's not as much as you think. So in the case of and by the way, Lucas Longfellow, is your lawn so wet that the Pythium is just running crazy? If it is, then I would feel perfectly confident in spraying down that mefenoxam at that higher water volume and not watering it in, because it sounds to me like you have moisture everywhere right now. That's what it sounds like to me. You don't need any more water, sir.
Yeah, that's one of the things, right? Like, do I spray methonoxam and go flip on the irrigation system? No, like no.
No.
Uh, Even if I'm spraying like azoxy and propiconazole along with it, which many times I would be, did I flip on the water immediately after? No. Am I going to cut off the irrigation system for a week because I made that application? No. But if I put 3 days between my application and then, in fact, I would even say like 48 hours, two days, something like that, right? I may not even give it a full 48 hours and irrigation cuts back on. That's fine. But yeah, let it sit, let it get to a good dry, and yeah, don't finish spraying as you move to your last zone. You're turning on your first zone. Just
Yeah,
to,
you
just to
don't need
make
to
sure
do that.
it gets soaked in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't need to do that. Do not do that
that's
because it sounds to me.
the second time we've been asked that this year, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. I mean, it's and you know what? Here's my general thought. Anybody that is freaking out and having to reach for the methanoxam, Matt, don't you think that those are basically people that are candidates for a growing season phosphite preventative program? Because to me, when I see somebody running for the bottle of Subdue Max, to me, that is just horrible. I mean, that's just like, I don't want to even think about it because, by the way, Matt, a staple when I'm routinely applying fungicide is phosphatal L. Like, if I'm doing fungicide, 4 ounce per 1,000 signature stress guard in the tank every app. Because if I have to deal with the likes of large patch and dollar spot and leaf spot, I'm pretty sure that Pisium is not far behind. And in fact, it has been. I've known people that only cover for dollar spot and brown patch, and Pisium comes along to eat their lunch.
I am
put down the
looking.
problem.
I'm looking at the label, and I don't see anything about irrigating 1.5. I don't see
Maybe
anything
half.
about irrigating after an application period.
Really, you don't see anything about that because the only time I would think that, because you know what my impression of methanoxam is that it is actually such a systemic fungicide. You know what I mean? Is that it'll literally travel from the leaves down to the roots, even if you apply it on turf. It's such a systemic product.
Yeah, I don't see anything about watering it in. Now you can make applications through irrigation systems, but that would be for ag. That is not for turf grass. So I'm not. Yeah, drenching soil surface sprays.
Okay.
A soil surface spray does spec water, but we're not making a soil surface spray. We're making a foliar application.
And Matt, the whole point of a soil surface spray is for soil-borne Pisium and Phytophthora infestation in woody ornamentals. Okay, that's when, Matt, I break out the Trident and I'm shooting 10 to 20 gallons per 1,000 square foot. And at that point, that's enough water volume to get that application into the roots. That's a different application entirely.
Yeah, so they're talking about irrigating on newly seeded areas. And so again, this is when we're talking about newly seeded areas, we're talking like brand new seed. Like before you cut type of new seed. But yeah, on established turf here. So I'm looking at established turf for Pythium blight, yellow tuft, downy mildew. Applies a preventative treatment at 0.2 to 1 ounce and 1.5 gallons of water per 1,000. Retreat in 1 to 5 gallons of water per thousand. Retreat 10 to 21 day intervals. During periods of prolonged conditions favorable for disease development, use a half to 1 ounce on a 14-day schedule. That is for turf. Yeah, so that's how it's expressed there. And then the only time it mentions irrigation for turf is apply 0.2 to 1 ounces in 1 to 5 gallons of water per 1,000 square feet immediately after seeding. Irrigate with a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. Retreat at 7 to 14 day intervals. So again, this is immediately after seeding. So this is before the seed even germinates. You're effectively seed treating in this application. That's why you want to irrigate it, because again, that's a soil application that you're making. The majority of the time, you're actually spraying the surface of the leaf of the plant, of the turf grass, at which you're not being recommended to water.
Do not water, actually, because if you water, you're probably diluting it excessively, because here's how mefenoxam actually works. It goes from the leaves at the site of application, and then systemically, the plant absorbs it and translocates it down to the roots. That's how mefenoxam normally works, because it's a highly systemic product.
Yeah, Brent said, "I'll let this play out, but I've done these applications with success." Yeah, I've never had I've never had an issue spraying mefenoxam before. I've always had good success with it. Normally, I would catch it, relatively early. I think I've got a video somewhere on YouTube where I was spraying along that was absolutely eat up with Pythium. But it was within like a week after my previous application that it just went apeshit, right? So I had about a week to progress, got in, sprayed mefenoxam, and I mean, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, it was absolutely beautiful. And yeah, it was the other thing. I sprayed it out of the permagreen, so I didn't even adhere to the label recommendations of carrier volume. I did it at a quart per thousand and had phenomenal results. Cleared it right up. In fact, the customer called me. He gave me $100 tip on top of it because he was so excited. So it was a good one. It was a good one. Anyway, I digress. It's do not irrigate that after that. And I hate it, man. You've already done 2 applications too. I mean, you spent a good amount of money there. It's brutal. So Chuck, here's the thing. Yeah, is it only killing the leaf? Typically, yeah, it only kills the leaf, but it does it at a time where it's normally hottest, right? So it's like you get too hot for brown patch. That's when Pythium shows up. And then the problem is that forcing the plant to re-leaf out at the hottest part of the season is not good for the crown.
No good.
That's where you end up getting a lot of bad results with Pythium, is that you're effectively, kicking the holy bejesus out of the plant at the most inopportune time imaginable. So that is what makes Pythium such a nightmare. So anyway, here we go. J-Pink says he has 2 video questions, each less than 30 seconds, and they go together. Let's check this out.
All right.
So I am not sure what this is, but how can I get rid of it?
It's a bagworm.
Like a pine cone
Bagworm,
centipede.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Ray, DeMay, Matt, help me out. It's actually a pretty big centipede worm thing. TK's freaking out.
Okay, you know what?
TK said that she is ready to burn all plant life in my yard tomorrow. And here's what she sent in.
Ray, what the fuck is this?
Oh, honey, you've got bagworm. Man, you've got bagworm bad. It's like, good lord, ma'am.
Like a snail.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, Matt. For bagworm, here's my go-to on bagworm. Acephate.
So I am not sure.
Not kidding.
Great one.
Not kidding about acephate, because what I find is true about acephate is that is actually one of the fastest acting insecticides for caterpillar. That'll shut that down yesterday, and Telly will not be in trouble with TK for much longer. How's that?
No, you may have to pick the bags off the tree, but you'll notice they're empty after your
They're dead.
application. So yeah, don't be surprised if you if you have to pick them off. But catching them right now while your arborvitaes are still green, yeah.
And still got all their needles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally, they still got all their needles. Yeah,
we get these phone calls. Yeah, we're showing up and they are crispy brown, and then it is like a 3-year regrow if you catch it early enough. But catching it where you are right there, and again, if you've got a permethrin, in case it ain't nobody picking that shit off no tree. Then you could leave it and it will fall off over a period of time, TK. Seriously, it'll fall off over a period of time. It just may be slow.
Yeah, and you know what? You'll notice. And you know what? If you don't like how it looks, after it's dead, get the water hose, give the plants a bath. Done. Okay. I mean that never hurts. And so, but then I'm thinking acephate, permethrin, bifenthrin, and of course Matt. My actual favorite for treating ornamental trees and shrubs, even though this is kind of gnarly, Tempo. I like Tempo for caterpillars as well, but caution. Between the bifenthrin and the Tempo, I know you don't want that landing on your skin. And you know what the good thing about permethrin is? Permethrin is relatively non-irritating to the skin. Permethrin is relatively non-irritating, but then Tempo and bifenthrin, no thank you. No thanks. But that shit right there.
Try and use as much carrier volume as you can too. So that and again, you want, depending on how burrowed in the bag they are, yours are quite active right now, right? They're crawling across the leaves and all that, and sometimes they'll burrow, and you've actually got to soak through around. That.
Yeah, but if they're out and eating, Matt, that is where you can catch them, because if they crawl through what you've just sprayed, bye.
Bye-bye.
I mean, yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, but they're fairly easy to kill. You got no worries.
At this stage, at this point, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Even
when they hunker down, you got to get a little pressure and a little volume behind it, and eventually it'll go. Oh, yeah. We'll give you that secret if you need to. Get a little GNC gun, high pressure, high volume application.
I've always liked my what do they call it? My Bertolini gun.
A Bertolini gun? I've never used that.
It's from Italy. It looks like a trombone. No, it looks like almost like a trumpet or a trombone. Uh-huh. And that bastard goes far if you've got 500 psi behind it. It's a Ray special, okay? It's a Ray special.
I've done it with JD9 gun, and you turn that pressure regulator all the way up, and give it. You think you're done spraying, you go back and you spray it one more time before you go to sleep. You wake up in the morning.
Yeah,
you'll notice there's a bunch of nothing in the bags. You're like, oh, I won that battle. I won.
Yeah,
but there it is, bagworms. Man, I'm surprised we have not been asked more about bagworms before. It's pretty interesting. I don't. But I mean, I get so little asked on YouTube about bagworms. I'm actually shocked. Because it, like where I live in Tennessee, it is a big thing. I mean, we get shit tons of bagworms here, but everybody plants arborvitaes here too. So I don't know what that is, but we get them all over Jap maples and all kinds of shit. So it's.
I'll tell you what, I get bagworms too, and here in Hawaii, you know what the bagworms shred and freak people out for? The palm trees and the tropical foliage.
No kid.
Bagworms. No, the bagworms are gnarly because all of a sudden I get a call that said, "Hey Ray, my foliage plants, they have these you know grassy looking things hanging down from them, and my leaves are all shredded." I say, "Okay, I'll be right there." And yeah, it's the engine drive backpack and the Bertolini gun. Yeah, one of those things.
Absolutely roast them.
Yeah.
Okay, we have not heard from the other people that have written in. If y'all have any questions in the chat, go ahead and ask those.
Yes.
Otherwise, we are gonna dip out of here and go hang out for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, my life is slowly coming back to normal. The hard part with my family being in Japan for 2 weeks and then coming back is
2
the
months.
circadian rhythm is exactly opposite. There's a 13-hour time difference from where we live right now. So you're literally on the opposite time, a day ahead at all times. So everyone is waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning in my house and then like randomly falling asleep in the mid-afternoon still.
Oh
So
no.
kids are
no.
definitely better. My poor wife at
Asami's
40,
having
you
trouble.
don't just quite as good as you do when you're 12 years old or even 20, 26 years old. So we
I
have
don't know,
been
Matt, because
desperately trying to get her to stay awake.
I think I do the time travel thing not bad, but then again I'm weird. Because after the coffee and the biscuits and gravy, I'm all good. Remember?
See, it kills me. So last time I was in Japan, I recorded a bunch of video there because I would get up at 3 in the morning. Now, of course, again in Japan, there's not a lot of air conditioners, so I'm hot as hell. So I'd get up and I was like, well, I'll go do something, and I would just go walk. And the crazy thing too is that like sun's up at like 4:45 there, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
So if I start walking at 4:45, I'm watching the sunrise. So I'd walk till 6:30 in the morning and come back and take a shower. And even though I was there for however long, 10 days, 14 days or something, I mean, I still was waking up at 4:45 in the morning. And what I tried to do, and this is probably not the best way to handle this, was I was like, I am going to get so unbelievably drunk on the flight
no.
to Japan so that way I can sleep on an airplane. Otherwise, I can't sleep on an airplane. It just freaks me out. I feel like someone, if I fall asleep on an airplane, I'm going to wake up and someone will have stabbed me in my chest and stolen everything. And they're like, my kidney's gone or something. I might be crazy for having that fear, but it's like a legit fear I have. I do not like sleeping in public. It's too vulnerable. I just can't psychologically handle it. So the only way I would be able to do it is just, take advantage of the altitude. I'm only going to need 4 drinks and I'm just going to be absolutely slammed. So, of course, I fly out. And before I even get on the airplane, I maybe had like, I don't know, 6 or 7 drinks. Then I got on the airplane and had 4. And I was roasted. I was absolutely roasted. Of course, I'm
God.
sandwiched between 2 guys and I'm in the middle. And at the time, I was not a small guy at all. And I was like, all right, I am not going to be able to handle this much longer. And I did. I passed out and I was only out for like 4 hours. So for the next 10 hours in the air, I was just awake and hungover to holy hell. And it was terrible. So in the future, I will not do that because that was absolutely miserable. Brent, I might be crazy for having that fear, but it is one I have. I cannot stand. Even as a kid, this is no lie. This is how fucking weird I am. I'm not supposed to be cussing on air, but this is how absolutely weird I am. I am so nuts that even as a kid, I couldn't do sleepovers because there was something about falling asleep in someone's house that I had this fear that I was in too much of a vulnerable position. I had no escape plan. I could not get out, and it just I didn't like it. And I had that exact conversation with my parents. I was like, if I fall asleep there, I have no control over what happens to me. And of course, my dad ate it up. He's like, "Yep, that's smart, son. I like the way you think. You just tell me, and I'll come get you at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't care." And of course, I'm probably like 8 or 9 years old or whatever. And but I was always a nutcase about it. Still am. It's weird. I don't know. It's the thing I have. That shit crazy doesn't cut the half of it, Lushy. I promise you. I can probably tell stories like this all night. Okay, we are going to get out of here. I hope everyone has a good time. As again, I understand. I never did move on from being a kid. That I can promise you too. It still is what it is. And with DeMay gone, we probably do not have content for the after show, so we'll just dip in and say hey to everybody, give them a little bit of a life update, and we'll gear up for a big old hunky dory Sunday. School's back in, and so today was my kid's first day of school, so I am a little frazzled. So we'll talk about it over there. Y'all have a good one. Patreon.com/burn and return, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
What?